fam, welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate with Jose. Got a great guest for you today. New friend of mine, Adrian. Woo! What's up, Adrian? How you doing, bud?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited about the questions.
Appreciate you coming on, making some time for me. I know you're a busy man, so I won't keep too much of your time. As always, I like to start off my show or my episodes with my guests just kind of sharing their journey, why you got into real estate or how you got into real estate, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, well, I started about 21 years ago, and I got into real estate because I was a really, really bad tenant. My friends and I got evicted multiple times. Some of the eviction notices were for parties, like spaghetti wrestling parties, mud wrestling parties, pudding wrestling parties. You don't want to rent to 20-year-old Adrian and his friends.
There you go.
More of the story there. But, as real estate investors, we're really problem solvers. Now, I didn't realize I was doing all this back in that day, but I needed to solve the problem of getting evicted over and over. So I bought a house. I moved all my friends in, what's now known as like house hacking, where you're renting it out by the room.
Sure.
I didn't know. I was just like, I don't want to pay my mortgage. So I divided my mortgage up amongst my friends that lived in the other bedrooms, and I lived for free at 20 years old, not with mom and dad. So there's not much cooler than that.
Nah, that's life right there.
Yeah, right. So, a few years later, I, go back to the banks and I say, hey, can I do this again? And they say, of course you can. But this time you're going to lose a little bit of money every month. But don't worry, real estate goes straight up. That's what the banks told me. I think you're starting to see where the story is going. So 2 years, I go to refinance. And, real estate had been going down, the value.
Yeah.
Well, I had one of those adjustable rate mortgages. So my payment was actually going up. Not what I would have thought.
Right.
Long story short there, I ended up selling the house as a short sale. I gave it up as a short sale. And that ended up being one of the best things I did. Very, very painful for my pride, my ego, my credit, my integrity. But now, fast forward, I ended up buying a few more houses. But that short sale stayed in the back of my head. I never wanted to compromise my integrity again.
Right.
So I've been very wrong about the market for a long time, which has made me very, very conservative.
Sure.
And that's how I got into the mobile home business, because I just thought, this market is too overinflated. I still think it today, honestly. And even in the mobile home space, there's parts of it I'm like, this is a little scary. But I started searching for a safer asset. Now, people don't always think of mobile homes as being safer, especially in Central Florida where I'm at and we have hurricanes.
Right.
But I'm talking about the spreadsheet. The numbers are much safer because they make us a much higher return on our money, and I can mitigate my risk much better. So that's one reason I got into the mobile home space, and I'm in the mobile home with the land. So not the parks and not the unit within the park. It's kind of this forgotten middle ground where we buy a single unit, could be a double wide or a single wide, but a single unit, one unit with the dirt. So we're in the single family housing space. And we rent them out long term.
I like it. No park, but I mean they got a front yard and a backyard, and
some of them have 1.5 acres, 2 acres. I mean, we love those. The bigger, the better. It starts becoming a little harder to cash flow when you have more land. But our residents want privacy.
I mean, and it's an affordable asset too, right?
Exactly, especially today. It's the affordable housing space. It wasn't as big of that when I got into it 8-9 years ago. But today we have a much higher affordable housing crisis, I'll say. And even for the fix and flippers out there, like no one can afford a payment anymore. So now the mobile homes have actually been going up in value just because of payments that people can't afford. So now they're buying more mobile homes.
So you haven't shared this with me, so I'm gonna pull it out of you.
All right.
You are well-traveled and well-known, or let me see, not well-known. You speak at multiple events, and you have your own book. So can you kind of elaborate on how all that came about, and what drove you to write it and publish it?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I'm a little bit louder with my T-shirt colors. My buying T-shirt is My Wife Buys Mobile Homes. My education is Lifestyle REI. But really, it's on a neon yellow shirt. So I have a little bit more of a loud personality when it comes to that. So I'm not scared to talk about my mobile home investing. That's really what I'm saying.
Go.
A lot of people that have been investing in mobile homes just don't talk about it. It's not a sexy Instagram picture.
Right.
Well, because I kept talking about it, the local real estate clubs, well, they said, well, no one talks about this. Will you come speak on it? And I mean, my first few times speaking, I was physically shaking,
Sure.
scared. When I got over that, I learned I love helping others. I love getting on podcasts like this and just sharing my story to help others, because my mentors did that for me. I started traveling around the country, teaching around the country. Like I said, I wrote the book on how to buy mobile homes, kept the cover yellow because everything's yellow in my world.
There you go.
And yeah, it's just been a really fun journey. You know, I never, ever saw this in my future, but you start doing the right things and people notice you, and you don't say no when good things are happening.
Exactly. So you made a name for yourself in this space in mobile homes, but you mentioned a mentor. Was that mentor that taught you how to do mobile homes, or was that someone that just kind of helped you get into investing and then you kind of migrated to mobile homes on your own? How did that work?
I have a ton of mentors, which I think most of us do. You know, I don't have any one particular mentor in the mobile home space. Especially, I have a few, but you would never even know their names. They were the guy and girl that sits in the back of the meeting that doesn't need to do another deal.
Sure.
They're not known by almost anyone, a few people in the club, but they just love the business.
Right.
Those were my mentors, and
Gotcha.
they weren't out there teaching it, you know, but I've got a lot of mentors, Bill Cook, Peter Fortunato. I never even met Jack Miller, but because people recorded him, like you're recording here,
Right.
his material lived on. So I have a lot of mentors like that I learned the language, I'll say, of real estate investing, because it's a different language, and how to use the different tools. And I took what they taught me and brought it to the mobile home space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, most people are scared to buy their first property, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you were getting evicted all over the place and needed to buy yourself your first home. Now, was a mobile home your first asset, or did you buy a home and then migrate into mobile homes?
Great question. So I think I bought 5 or 6 concrete structured single family ranch style beautiful houses before I switched to the mobile home space.
Gotcha.
And that was really important because a quick story is I call it lucky on some appreciation, because we don't really control the appreciation side.
Right.
But I did get lucky on some of those appreciations, and then traded that equity that I got into mobile homes, which really helped me grow faster. And now I'm thinking about doing it with some of my mobile homes that have a huge amount of appreciation. I'm thinking, all right, what can I trade that into? Can I go into some smaller mobile homes that have less value and increase my cash flow? Because I'm a cash flow investor.
Gotcha. So you said trade. So let's kind of dig into that. When you say trade, are you pulling out your equity and still holding on to your asset, or are you literally trading it where you're maybe selling it off and exchanging that equity or income into another class asset?
Yeah, I'm doing the second one because I like debt. I respect debt, but I like a very, very, very low debt. I think I'm around 38% LTV.
Oh, nice.
I mean, my CFO, he's always can't believe how low I keep it. Because you got to remember, I've been through that recession where I lost that property. And I
Right.
have many friends I studied that lost everything, thousands of dollars. And because it moves fast when the market happens. I'm
Right.
feeling a little bit of it right now. So I like really low debt. So I sold and then did actually a 1031 exchange. Sometimes I just sold it outright, paid my taxes, didn't defer them in a 1031 exchange, and moved to the mobile home space. And I do a little bit of passive investing. I have some self storage, I've had a mobile home park, apartments, but all that's passive for me. So
Right.
I don't believe I'm equipped, my brain, to do all of these different asset classes really well.
Right.
I'm really good at what I do. I make a lot of money, and I
Sure.
take some of that money and invest it passively in some of my friends for diversification. But that's just the way my brain works. I wouldn't have any life if I was running all those type of businesses at once.
Well,
Well,
some
not the
people
life
might
I
call that a
want.
life, right?
Yeah,
Because life is never boring that way.
yeah.
So you brought up 1031, and I don't know what the education and experience of people that are watching this. So can you just kind of explain to the audience what a 1031 exchange is and why you would use it and how can I put this? What the brokerage, how important that brokerage is in that situation.
Ooh, so no one asked that last piece of the question there. I love that. So the very simple on a 1031 exchange is it's the IRS code 1031. We're deferring paying the taxes. In my case, I sold one single family, and then I sent the money to the brokerage, the intermediary, I think they call it.
Yep.
And then I bought 7 mobile homes. A lot of people go from a bunch of assets to one bigger one bigger one. I kind of went backwards in the value of the homes, but I went up in the cash flow. So
Okay.
you're just deferring paying your taxes. There's some different rules of that go with it. Of you have to identify the properties in so much time and purchase them in so much time. But the last question you said is the most important. There is how important is the company you use? Extremely important. I bought 7 within my tiny little time frame, and I had to keep going back to them and saying, "Hey, this is the scenario. How can I purchase this within the rules?" So I had some properties that needed money before I even sold the first one. And then I had another property that I legally couldn't close on until after my date. But we found different ways to keep everything legal. Everyone got the money they needed. Everything stayed in the right time frames because I kept going back to my team member and saying, "Hey, help me out here." I wasn't too good to say, "No, I know everything." I got over my ego mostly years ago. I
Right.
still fight it sometimes.
So you said 20 years old, and the party animal with all your friends, and people that are watching this could be anywhere from who knows 18, maybe even 16, all the way up to let's say 70, 75, right? And none of them have experience doing real estate. So how does 20-year-old Adrian learn how to acquire property? Like, some people have a hard time getting into deals as far as like funding. You hear the term other people's money. How did 20-year-old Adrian navigate the waters per se to acquire your first property? And then now, how are you doing that today now that you have a little bit more experience?
Okay, I'm glad you asked the second part because the first part's not what I'm going to recommend to most people doing, especially the more seasoned age people. Maybe it's 16, 18, early 20s. But honestly, I didn't understand much. I had a little bit of guidance from a family member that happened to be a mortgage broker. I didn't have a lot to lose. Like I literally left the key in my ignition of my car because it was so worthless.
Right.
So I just didn't. I didn't have much fear either, So I knew enough that I wanted to do this, but not so much to be scared out of it.
Gotcha.
So I went into that signing of the closing of it. Honestly, I don't feel like I knew a lot. My dad went with me, and he said he was impressed with how much I knew. But I can't tell you I knew everything going on. I am a good question asker. So I will ask questions even if I don't even know if it should be the question I should ask or not. So
Right.
that's how I learn a lot. So you go from that, the extreme ignorant Adrian, I just need to solve a problem. And even if I screwed up buying a house, it was still better than getting evicted again.
There you go.
So then you fast forward. Now today I'm much more conservative. I don't have a family today, but I want to have kids and everything. So I'm in a place I don't want to blow everything up. I don't want to lose everything. I'm now building a much smoother business that doesn't have as many risks that go up and down. So in that case, now today I don't use any banks. I am bank free since April of 2022. The other people's money that you mentioned, that's all me. I love paying friends instead of a bank. It feels better. It's faster. There's lots of benefits to that. So I think for the people listening, you do have to figure out where you in your investment journey and figure out the assets that are best for you. Maybe a 1960s mobile home, which are higher risk, maybe that's not the best asset if you're looking to safely retire in 3 years. Maybe you need to look at the 2000s mobile homes. They're safer, they're stronger builds. You're not going to get the higher cash return on as the 60s, but you have less risk. So there's nothing wrong with picking one side or the other. You just have to be aware that, hey, in the 1960s, I might not be able to get any insurance on it. And I have to be okay in Florida with no hurricane coverage. That would
And
scare me if I'm about to retire.
and trying to do repairs on that type of property.
Exactly. But for me, where I'm at my business, I'm not scared of that. I have enough equity in there. I was buying it like that whenever I didn't have kids. So the worst case, it's me sleeping under a bridge. I'm not going to do that to a family.
Right.
So I think we have to figure that vision piece out first and then buy according to that. And don't get caught up in hearing my best deal and all your other guests' best deal. And it always has to be a deal that sounds like that. No, go for a deal that makes you sleep well at night.
There you go. I like that. So you said you're now bank free. A lot of people will say, well, how do you structure that? How do you set yourself up for success while potentially, working with friends, as you mentioned? Nobody wants to lose a friend over a business deal. So how have you been able to structure your deals to borrow from friends so you pay them back? And what kind of time frame do you look at?
This is one of my absolute favorite topics. I feel like we've gotten lazy in the real estate investing community world in the last, decade-ish since the last recession, because, well, banks have been so easy to work with and so cheap. So there really hasn't been a reason to learn this whole other side.
Right.
A lot of my mentors just pressed it into me to learn it. So some quick benefits are it's faster. I have literally had money wired over. I had a phone call at 6 p.m. and it was wired at 10 a.m. So I've had overnight money wired. That's an extreme case, but it's what is possible. I don't know of a bank that's going to answer the phone at 6 p.m.
No.
So it's cheaper. I've never had any of my friends and family ask me for a year prepaid of insurance and taxes and all these other fees.
Right.
Now, here, I do need to stop here for a second and mention, when I'm talking about private money, it is different than hard money.
Right.
Quote unquote. That's usually short term. So my private money or my friends and family, whatever I pay and how long those terms, that's another thing I love. It's negotiable. Some of my friends try to tell me that they're not going to live more than 10 more years, so they can't give me more than a 10-year loan. And I keep telling Dave, stop cutting yourself short in life.
There you go.
But, that's his thing. He doesn't want to loan more than 10 years. I have some other friends that are like, I want to leave this payment to my kids. I want 30 years.
Right.
And then I have some people say, 4 years is it, 5 years. So it's truly, we'll say a negotiation, but really a conversation. Jose, what do you need? And then my job is to help you get what you need where I can still make money.
There you go.
Because now I'm helping my friend. And then if you're getting what you actually asked for, who do you want to give more money to? Me.
Right.
So we still have a title company do it. We still secure it with a mortgage. We're not doing anything outside of that whole world. So we still have to pay our mortgage tax and everything. Because if I got hit by a bus right after that, I want you to be secure and I want you to be safe. If it's just a piece of paper in my sock drawer, it can get forgotten about. And I don't want that to ever happen to any of my friends that I'm borrowing their money.
Awesome. So let me see. Got that. So let me ask you this question, because it didn't come up in the earlier part of the conversation. You already shared that you partied in your 20s, but you kind of got into real estate. So what did you do before getting into real estate? Like, did you have, some people bag groceries, some people, work car washes or sales jobs. Do you have any of that before getting into this?
Yeah. So let's back up even before that. I grew up in an entrepreneur household.
Oh, okay.
Literally, our house was in the middle of the business. It was 2.5 acres. The house sat in the center, and we had a garden center, and then it grew to statues, and it grew to wrought iron. So very, very fortunate. I grew up understanding the benefits of a small business. Also, the mistakes a small business makes too.
Sure.
So I grew up with that, so I wasn't scared of it. I have worked at Walmart, so I didn't bag the groceries at Walmart, but I did put when you randomly put something away on the wrong shelf, I'm the one that picked it up and put it away.
There you go.
That was amazing job. It taught me, get out of retail. It ruins holidays.
There you go.
I took some benefits from it. I worked at the YMCA for a little bit. I worked at a restaurant for, I think, 3 weeks. And then the main thing I did for income was I did event marketing. So I was worked for a third-party marketing company, and we represented Fortune 500 companies, and would go and do stuff at NASCAR or trainings, or when someone was trying to get you to sign up for a credit card, or basically anytime you saw a big pop-up tent. Most of that used to always be third-party companies. Now the companies have sometimes taken it back inside.
Sure.
So I did a lot of that. Got to travel. I learned some marketing then. That's where I learned some of my marketing skills.
That's the yellow color, right?
Yeah. And the my wife part of it, I didn't fully know it when I created it, but women are better for marketing.
Oh, for sure.
You rather go talk to a lady than me, and ladies rather talk to a lady than a guy, because they're just a little more disarming than us guys. There's a little energy level I believe in, and they're better for marketing, women. So my wife, and then a third party instead of me, is better for marketing than it being I buy. Right. There's subtle differences, but it also just was better for my personality is the biggest reason. It fit my personality better, the yellow does, than some of the traditional marketing.
Well, it's a lively color too, so I think you picked a good choice. It does match your personality.
Thank you.
So I know, because I see you on Facebook and everything. How has this investing been affected your lifestyle?
Man, it's in my gratitude journal all the time.
Yeah.
I would not have the lifestyle I have without my real estate assets, without my amazing office manager, without the systems I created. It's still wild to me. I'm in Colorado right now, and all my properties are in Florida. And when I go back, I don't have to go and rush around and check on all these properties. And I just had my cell phone off for 1 week on a cruise. I did not have to come back to this massive stress.
Right.
I had a vision of what I wanted my personal life to look like, and then built my business to serve my personal life, versus the old school way that I've done. And I think a lot of our society teaches is to wrap your personal life around your business, and you traded a 40-hour week for 80 and 90 hours a week.
There you go.
And I used to be all about that. I used to actually say I would rather work 80 hours for myself than 40 hours for someone else.
Sure.
And it's not true. Now, I don't consider this working right now, talking to you, because this is a lot of fun. Now, other people might think this is a work hour, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
So I really try to do what I really love. My team is the same way. I have an amazing office manager. My goal is for her to only do the parts of the business she loves. And my VA Kartika, I want her doing the parts of the business she loves, because when people love what they're doing, they're going to keep working and keep helping and keep building the business. For me, it's been real estate. You can do this in different businesses. I think real estate is one of the easier ones. And why mobile homes has been it for me versus the other asset classes is I make a higher rate of return. So I was able to grow and get to this freedom faster than traditional real estate houses. I was on a slower progress with houses. And so mobile homes have become my asset class because of that. I just wanted cash flow freedom. Today, I look for a little bit of equity here and there, but I can't eat equity. You mentioned cashing out. We can do that so long. And today, where we're at in 2025, there's a lot of markets you can't do that anymore. They've either flattened or maybe even dipped a little bit. Well, if that was your plan, you're in trouble. You can't eat next month.
Exactly.
When my cash flow keeps coming in, because my residents keep paying rent because they're happy where they live, I can eat. And I can pay my bills. I'm not going without paying my bills. So I keep a very small percentage of risk or luck items. Appreciation is luck for me.
Right. So, oh man, I lost my train of thought there. I'm sure you go over this in your book, but just to kind of encourage people to buy your book, right? So when you are acquiring a new asset, you're purchasing land, and are you getting a new mobile home to put on this land, or are you buying the land and mobile home already kind of mirrored together? How does that work?
So I prefer to buy already together. The home and land already there. I don't care what year it is. Yes, there is good money in buying some land, putting your improvements on it, your septic well, telephone or not telephone, power pole, whatever utilities are required in the area, and then moving the mobile home there. I know people that make good money on it. It's not for my personality. It's too much government conversations, and I get stressed having to call them up. So when I get properties like that, I just wholesale it, or I will buy it and then close on it and then resell it to another investor. I leave some money on the table for them to make some money with it. I make a little bit of money with it. It works. Could I make more by doing all those extra pieces? Yes. It wouldn't be worth my lifestyle, my stress, because I'm not good at that. I just really keep gauging, like, what am I good at, and what do I get excited about doing, and then what do I not? And I try to do less of what I don't get excited. If I keep putting it off and it's on my to-do list for like 3 months in a row, it's like, we need to figure out how Adrian never does that again.
There you go.
Because I'm hurting the business in reality, and I call it the business because it's not just hurting my income, it's hurting and cheating my team. I can't pay my office manager more. I can't pay Kartika more if I'm messing up in the business, and I want to pay them more money because they're valuable parts of my life.
Absolutely. So on that note, you didn't start off with a team. I can't call you a solopreneur. So how big have you grown your team, and how did you know when to add a new member?
So right now, on a regular basis on my team is Karen, my office manager, and then Kartika, my VA. And Kartika has been with me, I think, from 2013, so a very long time. They're my regular members of my team. I would consider people on my team, such as my title companies I work with, any inspectors, anyone that I do business with, bird dogs, other investors that I can just call up and without anything under contract and say, hey, this is what's going on. So you grow your team by just networking and truly wanting to help. Now, I don't go and, like, first time I meet you at a meeting and talk to you for 3 minutes, give you everything.
Sure.
I want to really build that rapport back and forth. That's why the consistency is important. But yeah, I did everything for myself for a long time. I was scared to share. I was scared to tell people when I had problems. I'm in multiple masterminds. I run a mastermind. Those have been huge because it's a closed door that you can just go and say, here are my problems.
Right.
Usually someone in the room's like, oh, that's not a problem. I dealt with that 5 years ago. Here's what I did. Because there are no new problems. I did hire my original office manager, Jill. She was my third hire when I was looking for actually not even a manager, someone just to answer the phones. I hate answering the phone. Hate it. And I'm not good at it. So I was looking for someone. I did not want the big call center. So she was my third hire, and she grew from 4 hours a week to full-time W-2 salary employee. She had all my credit cards, all my bank account logins. She had everything of mine. I couldn't even turn power on. I didn't even know how to do it anymore.
That's crazy.
And I never thought I'd have an employee like that. And Jill got a offer she wasn't looking around, but she got an offer from another company, like double of what I was paying. I was like, I should go work for them. Like they gave her such a great deal.
Yeah.
And then luckily Karen was a quick transition. So when to hire, people told me hire before you're ready.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it. And I believe it now. The other really good advice when it came to hiring is it takes 3 to 6 people to find the right person. And it's because you don't know what you're looking for and you don't know how to hire. It's not a them problem.
It's a you problem.
Yeah. And someone told me that on my third hire, which was Jill. And when he told me, I still remember the exact networking event I was at. When Ryan told me, I was like, it all just went clear. I was like, yes, I screwed up on that first one. The second one, it was all so clear. And you can start really small. Some other pieces of advice I have with the hiring, we always think it's all about money. And yes, money is important, but sometimes freedom is just as important to someone that's going to work with you. I don't have any set hours. Even when Jill was a W-2 employee, there's nothing. I was like, you have unlimited vacation time. I don't care how much you take, how little you take. As long as the job gets done, I don't care where you're at.
Right.
And so she went on multiple trips. And I remember once she was we were on our weekly meeting. She's like, can you hang on a second? I have to go through security at Disney. And I thought that was awesome. She's getting paid to go to Disney.
There you go.
So yes, you pay well, but you got to see what does a person really want in life. She wanted some freedom as a stay-at-home mom, and she homeschooled even part of that time. That was very important. She couldn't go into an office. So we just have to look at what someone really wants and then fill that in our business if it fits, if it's the right person on the bus.
That's some great advice. I'm gonna actually put that down on my notebook. So the show's called Good, Bad, and Ugly, and I'd love for you to share, one of your highlighted stories in your journey, and then maybe one that's not such a bright yellow shirt type of situation where it was not so fun and you learned a lot from it.
So a good one. I have so many good stories because I love working with the sellers. I'm going to pick Harold Street. That's the one that just popped in my head. I went out to the Harold Street's the road it's on, and I had gotten the lead, I believe from my website, and they had sent a text in and they said right away, this is what we want. No owner financing. And it was just a text. So we replied a little bit, and I didn't think there was a deal there, but I was like, you know what, Adrian, you haven't been in a house sitting down with a seller in a while. Go for practice, because we can get lazy and our skill set slows. So that's why I went, and we talked for about 2 hours. So I'm a talker, as you can tell. I scheduled 2 to 3 hours for every single appointment, and about 2 hours in, then they wanted to talk about selling their mobile home because I'm talking about everything else.
Right.
Well, we find out reasons of why they said no owner financing, because they had another investor send them an owner financing offer and didn't explain anything whatsoever. So they didn't understand what it meant, and they went to a friend, and the friend said, oh, well, you don't get any of your money until it's all paid off. Well, that's not true.
Okay.
But you see how that other person shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
So when we talked about all that, they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, maybe we are open to owner financing.
Yeah.
And then they had other people call them, go over there, spend 5 minutes running through the home, and send them a text with an offer. And they were scared about selling their home. They've been there for, I think they were 20 some years. And they also needed to stay afterwards. So after they sold it, they needed to stay to actually get all their stuff moved.
Sure.
Actually, no, sorry. It wasn't even just to get all their moved. They needed to use some of the money to buy their future home. So they needed contingent on that. So then we finally find an agreement that works for both of us. It was not an owner financing deal. And before they signed anything, someone else gave them another offer. And it was, I think it was $2,000 higher than mine. And I asked them, would you please just give me another 2 days? Let me call some friends and see if I can figure this out. And she said yes. Because she said, I like you better. But they have to do what's best for the family.
Right.
So I called some friends up to see what, they would actually lend the money on. And I figured out to make it work. So I called them back, and we're about to sign everything. And they brought me to breakfast to sign it.
Okay.
Would not let me pay. This is not the first person that's done this.
Right.
Would not let me pay. And right when we go to, he goes to sign the agreement, her husband, he looks at me and he goes, I wish that beep, 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 and points over to was having to watch me sign this. So that other guy I mentioned.
Yeah. Happened to be there at breakfast.
No, he wasn't there, but he wished he was there because he actually offered $2,500 more again. And he refused it. He said, no, you were a jerk and you've been bad talking this other guy you don't know anything about. So they sold it to me for $2,500 less than they had another offer for, because I truly cared. I was there to help them.
Right.
And they've called me up for real estate, conversations, we'll say, for other things in their families' lives. And I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm just there to help.
Absolutely.
So, and I did not put it in writing, but I negotiated in. So this guy was a professional barbecuer. So I told him, anytime I'm passing through South Carolina, I get to stop off and get barbecue. And he said, you stop by anytime. I haven't been able to do it yet. But those are just fun things. I truly helped them. They liked me. So let's go through some quick numbers on it. We paid $98,000 for it, home and land, a quarter acre, 1999, I believe it was, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double wide. It had a small carport. It had a large shed, we'll call it, and then 2 or 3 small sheds, a fenced yard. And I mention all these things because that's who my avatar resident likes. They like the fenced yard. They like all these things I'm mentioning. So then I don't remember exactly how much we put into that one. I'm going to say we put in $15,000 into it. It might have been a little bit more. And we borrowed the $98,000. So we borrowed all the money to purchase it, and then we had to put all the rehab in it. It's a 30-year, 8% full AM note on there from a friend. Sweet. And we have that one rented at, I believe it's $1,650 a month. Had the same people there. We are now 3 years in, I believe, on that one. Same people. They've never been late on their payment. We've had some minor repairs that we had to do, even through the hurricanes that came through.
Right.
It's making us good money. That particular property, the land value is going up a little bit. Not all mine. The land value goes up because sometimes I buy it on a dirt road, off of a dirt road. No one's ever going there again. So, but this one is a particular one that it is, we'll say, in the path of progress. It's a slow path, but it is.
Sure.
So it's going to cash flow for me until some builder comes and says, "Hey, I want your land." I say, "Great, I want your money." So I call those my lotto tickets.
There you go.
So that's a great one. It's worked really well. I would say that's a single double. If we're using the baseball analogy.
Yep. I got it.
There's no big issues there.
So before you go into your negative one, I just have a couple of questions here. So one of the strategies that I utilize for my buy and holds is co-living. Do you, in your mobile homes, do you do rental by the room, or do you strictly do long-term rentals on those?
So I strictly do long-term rentals on it. I do know some people that have done the co-living in mobile homes. And so I'm starting to try to talk to more people about that because I think that is a brilliant move. You're matching 2 niches that still work and make money. And if you combine those 2, I think you make even more money. So I absolutely love it. One person I talked to, she was buying 4-bedroom, 3-bath, brand new homes and turning them into 5 bedrooms, 3 baths. So just make a small adjustment inside on a brand new home and renting them out by the room. So I absolutely love it.
Okay. The other question I had, or actually comment before you get to your story, because I know I'm going to forget, because I just forgot like two times already, is I didn't realize you were in Colorado right now. I am as well. So after this, let's stay on. We need to find a way we can hook up before you go back.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, let's do it.
And then the third question I have for you is, I know you're in Florida. Is Florida the only place that you invest?
Yeah. So going back to, I've kind of implied a little bit that I'm just very simple. And I've learned that when I get too complex, I don't work. I buy in a very strict 30-minute diamond, basically, from Plant City, Florida.
Gotcha.
It's a very small area. And now the reasons is because I studied my mentors that have been in the business 30, 40, 50 years, and they went from really big spaces to really small.
Okay.
So I finally got over my ego and said, why am I going to try to reinvent the wheel? They've been doing this longer. Let me just move to where they've already ended. So I do a very 30-minute tight market in Plant City, around Plant City. Some reasons are I don't want to learn other rules, other laws, other states, other counties. I have to get new sets of contractors. I have to have a new team. I like to passively invest in other states.
Sure.
Would I ever start a team in another place? For me, no. If Karen wanted to manage another team in another, then that's the only way I would look at it. Is she would have to want to manage it.
So what does that look like? Lakeland to like a Coe to
Lakeland,
Adamdale.
Yeah. So yeah, the market. Lakeland's usually the one that hits the media and the news because of it's the best rental market. So basically, if you're looking at Tampa and to Disney World,
Okay.
you're essentially the Tampa line. I-75 runs north and south through the state.
Right.
From there, for about an hour towards Disney. So we don't get into Disney, but it's right along there. Plant City is a third of the way to Disney from Tampa. And so it's a little north of there, a little south of there. It's right along I-4. It's a booming area. Everyone keeps coming and investing there, and I keep saying, "Go away! There's no deals here."
These are not the homes you're looking for.
Yeah, go invest somewhere else. We have hurricanes,
Yeah.
So it has been good for my net worth because we have gone up in value a lot. Which is important. I do talk about cash flow a lot, and to me, that is the most important piece. But there is some value in having a net worth that goes up because you can utilize that with some equity.
Absolutely. Okay, I won't interrupt you anymore. Bad story.
Right. So I have one that I can't tell you my learning lessons because I'm literally in the middle of it right now.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's going to be a great deal. So maybe we can do a be continued on that and come back to it. I'm starting to get the feeling I bought wrong. But let's talk about when I can go through the whole thing. This is going to be Tennessee Road. And I don't remember where the lead came from. I want to say it was the signs on the side of the road. I used to do 50 of those a week, every single week. I think I did like 3 or 4 straight years. Never took a weekend off.
Okay.
And so it was back in that era. The brother is the one that contacted me because his brother had passed away. He had moved it all through probate and everything. And so I bought it for, I think it was $26,000. And later when I went back and reviewed everything, he actually said okay to $24,000.
Oh, wow.
That was 100% screw up on my communication. And he just must have thought I was the biggest idiot. But it still worked.
Right.
So make sure you're tracking your conversations. That was a stupid learning lesson, but it happens.
Yeah.
So this property had a massive oak tree. So Florida, we have these big oak trees. Yep. I mean, it's just you and I, and we need like 3 other people to put our arms around it. Huge oak tree. Right along this 1972, I believe it is, single wide mobile home. And it just, so that was the scariest part to me. It had that. It was a fenced yard again. Not the front of it. It was an older home. It needed a lot of work. So we bought it. We did a full rehab on it. Because I say full rehab, everyone listening is going to think we made it beautiful. No, we made it safe. We had to replace all the subfloors, and we did not replace the kitchen cabinets. We didn't even replace the wallboard. We painted it. So it was safe and livable and maybe a little ugly.
There you go.
But we also weren't going to charge top rent on it.
They call it functional, right?
Functional, yeah. I love that term. So then I have a tree trimmer there because I told you that tree just scared me. And I did the right thing and I checked, do you have insurance? And then I called and verified to make sure he had insurance.
Uh-huh.
And we're not cutting the whole tree down, but we're cutting the main limbs that are right over it because my personal hope was like, if it fell, all the weight would be the other direction. It would fall the other way.
Sure.
My budget couldn't afford the whole thing, but it was like, let's try this. Well, I'm over there part of the time they're cutting, and they're using the rope method where they tie a rope to the limb, and they have it tied somewhere else, and they swing it down.
Yep.
Well, it swings down and hits the roof.
Oh, God.
And I'm standing there, and the guy freaks out. And I'm like, not worried about it. You've got insurance, or you're taking care of it.
Yeah.
I was so incredibly happy. I made those extra phone calls that everyone talks about, and most of us don't do.
Yeah.
Long story short, in that piece, he did not end up taking care of it. We ended up calling it even. My handyman took care of it. I didn't pay him. And he was happy because tree trimmers do not want an insurance claim. They get so many of them and they can't even get insurance. It's so terrible on them. So they want to fix it outside of insurance.
Sure.
I actually made out a little bit better on that, but it was a very nice moment because I had no leverage on him if he didn't have that insurance.
Right.
So then we think we have it all good and we have people move in and the toilet keep backing up. Well, then we go underneath it and we find out, oh, that drain line's not right. It literally had 90-degree turns in the drain for, if you don't know about septic lines and everything,
yeah,
that's not
good. 45 and not 90. Oh my goodness.
There was two 90s together. So it was turning like this and then like this. It was so then we had to repair that.
Yeah.
And we still had a septic problem. So then we get down there. Some of the roots from that tree had grown into the septic system.
Yeah.
And then I had placed the wrong tenant and I paid him to leave. He was such a problem. I call this the property that kept on giving. And it wasn't good things they kept giving me. If that was my first property, I may not be in business financially or just stress level wise.
Sure enough.
Luckily, I don't know, this was probably in the mid-teens. So I had been through enough. I learned a lot of lessons from it. Like now we check the septics or we put in the budget to repair a septic. And if I check it or not, I always have a little money for it. And that averages out for me. I do have friends that check every single septic tank. And all mobile homes don't have septics, but my market is a little more rural. So we do more common that we have septics. So something now that we did not do it back then, but we've been doing it the last few years. It's an after action review. I actually got it from, it's a military that does it. I don't know who I was listening to. So every single transaction we do, if we rent a property, anything we do an after action review. We review what went right, what went wrong, what paperwork, what could we have done? We go through the entire process so that we can find a tweak in our system to better ourselves. My dad always taught me it's okay to make mistakes as long as you're not making the same one twice.
There you go.
I really go by that. Sometimes it is a second and third time. I am a slow learner sometimes. So yeah, here's the tenancy. And then what do we have it rented for? I don't even remember the numbers of how much we had in total, but I think it started out at $700 a month. We did decide to do that one as a rent to own, so we're owner financing it to the people that are there. And I think we sold it at 40 or 50,000. So we sold it about double. It's probably a little less than double, and we're making some good money on that. Now if there's a septic issue, it's their problem.
There you go,
not ours.
Awesome. Everyone's learned a lot about you over this time period. If somebody wanted to reach out and take advantage of your mastermind or the education that you share, or just want to follow your journey, how would they get in touch with you, or how can they follow you?
I know you're going to put all my socials and the description, and everything, and my books on Amazon. There's not a lot of Adrian Smooths out there. So if you just Google me, just look for the good stuff on me.
There you go.
You'll put the links in there. Send me a message. So I don't answer my phone. I already mentioned I hate getting on the phone. I will here and there, but I'm good with messages. I might reply in 3 minutes. It might be 3 hours. It might be 3 days or 3 weeks, but I do my best to always get back to people and help you out however I can.
Awesome. So for kind of like a parting gift to the audience, if there was one piece of advice or knowledge you would want to depart them with, what would that be?
Take something from this conversation and go put it into action. Because if you just listen to this, it's just like theory and knowledge, but until you put it to work, it's real. So you got to go. There's one tiniest thing from this episode that you can go and put into action today, or put it on your checklist for tomorrow, and do it. Don't wait another 3 weeks to do it. Then go back and take bigger pieces. But there's something you can do right now to move yourself forward. And that's how you keep going. It's the 1% a day, or, you're just slowly making the increments instead of these massive movements.
That's awesome. And that movement can be reaching out to Adrian or reaching out to me. That's an action taken just from this podcast. So on that note, Adrian, thank you so much, my friend, for making time for me. I know you're a busy man, and we worked on getting this together. To the audience out there, fam, thank you again for seeing another episode that I put on, and leave a description, or a comment if you liked it, didn't like it, what else you would like to learn about or hear about. And until next time, Later, fam.